I compare them with Xavi and Iniesta. Yes, they're not the same players as the duo at the Barcelona midfield when they were the best team in the world, but they can have the same impact for Germany.
Hi and welcome to the Fußball channel. I'm your host, Markus Fjørtoft, and as always joined by Jan Fjørtoft for the international break summary. Dad, we have no Bundesliga, we have no Premier League, we have no Serie A, La Liga, you name it. And here we are to summarize a few of our main talking points. But before we dig into that, how's it been for you with a bit of a break from league football as well? Maybe that's nice sometimes?
No.
That's a professional speaking.
Yeah, no, but I love all the leagues around the world. And yes, I just follow all national games, of course, Germany, Austria, England, Norway, the teams where I used to play, or the countries that I used to play. And now Norway played Austria. We'll talk more about that later. But I miss the buzz of the league thing. And this weekend I'm off because we together go to West Norway. We'll have a football school, a soccer school. So that will be a couple of weeks without a Premier League. But I follow it, of course, closely. But it's also interesting to see, Marcus, when they come back. When Nation League started, everybody said, wow, this is so complicated, we don't get it. But it makes sense. Some good games, Haaland against Germany. I mean, and you just see that England, because they went down, they have to play a bit weaker opposition like Ireland and Finland. But it's still very interesting to see them. And I will start with San Marino, Marcus. San Marino winning for the first time in 20 years. I mean, that was scenes. I mean, that is what the Nation League gives you, because you play against teams that are on your same level. And I mean, first of all, I'm not sure if you follow their Twitter, the X account of them. Of course. They are fantastic. The irony, the sarcasm they had in their performance, fantastic to see. San Marino. I played once against San Marino. We beat them 10-1 or 10-0 was it probably. I was starting on the bench. I came on when it was 15 minutes ago. I was so desperate to score. Did I score? No, I didn't. Gunnar Halle, who had never scored in his life before, more or less, he scored a hat-trick. So that was one of the games I missed for my goal tally in the Norwegian national team.
It was good nonetheless, though. Good nonetheless. But
exactly.
If you had a few more, you maybe were closer to Haaland, who's about to break Norway's goal-scoring record, but more about that later. Let's go into Germany, Dad, because we go into Germany off the backdrop of the Euros, which created an immense buzz. And for context, Germany were really in the rut. And up until Nagelsmann was hired under Hansi Flick, there wasn't that rejuvenation as the country had hoped for. They had grown increasingly disillusioned with the national team. A lot of poor results, uninspiring performances. And so that was the sort of entrance going into Euros, or as we thought, because just in the nip of time, Nagelsmann seemed to be able to put his imprint on the team. There seemed to be a bit more of optimism going into the Euros, albeit a bit cautious nonetheless. But a strong Euros performance out in the quarterfinals against the eventual champions in Spain. Now we come, back to reality in a way and down through qualifying, which they haven't done in a while. But we must say that 5-0 against Hungary, 2-2 against Netherlands. Overall, a pretty decent couple of games for Germany.
Yeah, and I think it's worth noticing what you're saying about where they were. And not only came Nagelsmann, before Nagelsmann came Rudi Völler. And Rudi Völler came into the role as the cleaning boy. We have to do something here. He did the same thing ahead of the World Cup in 2002. Took them to the World Cup final. They had a great final then. Lost against Brazil in the final against the old Ronaldo, the original Ronaldo. Oliver Kahn, who had a great tournament, made a big mistake and a rebound in the final. My point is, Rudi Völler, when it goes get tough, who you going to call? It's Ghostbusters, and it's Rudi Völler. And he put in Julian Nagelsmann. And as you were saying, they didn't have any qualification games, which is sometimes inspired uninspired to don't have the competitive game. So as you were saying, these were the first games they started. They were okay at the Euros. They were at home. They kind of made a new start for the German national team. They remember the World Cup in 2006 when everybody was so enthusiastic about their team. Jürgen Klinsmann being the coach back in the days. And now they start all over again. And not only that, Marcus, they went into qualification with a lot of great players who have retired, starting with Manuel Neuer, Toni Kroos, Gundogan, Thomas Müller. You can't have a more kind of break. You can't have a more change in generation than that. And then Germany shows that there are always talent to come in. Yes, in goal, Ter Stegen, he's been waiting. He's been waiting for his chance. He will look after that. But mind you, Manuel Neuer has said, if there is emergency, I can step in. So, but Ter Stegen is now the goalkeeper. Joshua Kimmich, he was a vice captain after Gundogan at the Euros. Nagelsmann made him officially the captain, which was good. After Gundogan, as I was saying, and not Manuel Neuer out, he was a clear candidate. So, and Vincent Kompany now playing him in more central in Bayern. So things turn around a bit for Joshua Kimmich now, after he was the Prügelknabe, the guy who was always criticized for the failure of Bayern. And then, of course, Musiala and Wirtz, they have two of the most promising, most exciting football players in the whole world right now. And those are the guys who they're going to build a new future on, or will build a new future on.
Yeah, and the duo of Musiala and Wirtz, is, for those who haven't been able to watch them as close as we have the fortune of doing, it is at a level in which I, for one, haven't seen from two such young players in a very long time. I mean, 5-0 against Hungary, Musiala scores, Wirtz scores, 3 assists from Musiala to add on to that. You had Havertz playing in the Gundogan role, with Füllkrug playing up top. You had then also Pascal Gross, Andrich, Pavlovic, all kind of playing in that role there to fill in for Kroos. I mean, there is a lot of exciting talent going forward. The only worry and the only concern I would have would perhaps be that back line, and more specifically the 2 center backs. I think Kimmich is all right at right back. Then you have David Raum at left back, the Leipzig left back, which is fine. And then you had and then you have Rüdiger, who was out, and then you have Schlotterbeck and Tah. Mind you, Tah was subbed up at half-time. Schlotterbeck has been a bit in and out, dropped, as we remember, from the Euros, brought in, started both games. That is, for me, the only Achilles heel, I guess, for Germany. But in terms of Wirtz and Musiala, I mean, wow. And look at those highlights against Hungary. I mean, you see that against Netherlands too, but look at Hungary highlights, and you'll understand what we're getting at.
Well, Musiala was amazing, and Musiala and Wirtz, they have this understanding. There is a dream now for everybody that they will play at the same club, and maybe. Yeah,
what do you think? Realistic?
That Leverkusen will buy Musiala? No, I don't think that is very realistic. I think they will dream about it at Bayern, but mind you, Bayern doesn't have the same attraction now as they used to have. We've been talking about so many times, that it's hard to understand sometimes, or over the years, that a lot of players want to go from a top club, being RB Leipzig. Remember with Sabitzer, even Julian Nagelsmann going from Leipzig to as a second team, the second team in the Bundesliga going to Bayern. That will never happen in England. You feel that they will leave a top club going to another top club, but that has always been the thing in Germany. I see that is going down a bit. I think that Max Ebel is criticized because he didn't have a fantastic transfer window, and Xavi Simons choosing RB Leipzig ahead of Bayern. There are different reasons, because maybe Bayern said, we want to have a clause at the end of a loan and all that. I get that, but I'm not sure I'm sure that it's changed a bit now, because Musiala, first of all, he has to extend his contract. The talk of the town is that they're going to sit together after the international break. They have the same agent, Leroy Sané and Musiala, so they will sit down and see if it will be the contract will be extended. But I mean, these two guys, Musiala and Wirtz, will be on the wish list. They will be on the list of every club in Europe. So people speculating about Liverpool, about Arsenal, about Manchester City, about Barcelona, Real Madrid. Well, you don't have to be early up in the morning to understand that, because that is just obvious. They best age, great attitude. Wirtz even been out with a great or a terrible injury, came back, reigning champion in the Bundesliga. Musiala, just when he gets the ball, I always say this FIFA kind of movement, FIFA game, when you move on the pitch, as you were saying, I mean, Hungary, it was like amazing. It was amazing at Holland as well. And the understanding they two have, I compare them with Xavi and Iniesta. Yes, they're not the same players as the duo at Barcelona midfield when they were the best team in the world, but they can have the same impact for Germany. They start slowly having that. I have also a question, Markus, with you about the defense. I think that is not, but I think that is why we compare it with the rest of the team. Schlotterbeck, Champions League final. Ter Stegen is playing for Barcelona. Tah is one of the most promising. Bayern was desperate to get him. He's staying in Leverkusen now. Got 1 year left of his contract. Will he then go for a free to Bayern, or will he go abroad? We don't know. So, but it was a bad weekend for centre half. De Ligt. I mean, wow. De Ligt. I mean, he had an international break. Even as Bosnia-Herzegovina, they won 5-2, didn't they, Holland? And he was the most criticized man on the pitch. So, and yeah. Koeman took him off just to kind of protect him.
Yeah, it was. And that's what Koeman said in the aftermath of it. And obviously, is there a cultural context to it in the way that Koeman said it? But basically, to the extent of which, well, De Ligt, unfortunately, the mistakes he does now are getting punished the most. I had to sub him out because I had to continue protecting him, because right now it's just not working for him. Was basically the context of those comments, which is rather fitting considering we are talking about two of the center backs that have been at the center of the transfer rumors between Bayern and Manchester United. Just for context in that game, Germany conceded the earliest goal they have conceded since 1974 in the World Cup against Netherlands. Welcome to fact check me, but I'm pretty sure that is the case. They had beaten Bosnia-Herzegovina. Netherlands have an incredible dynamism to their team, led by a Xavi Simons, of course. And for Germany's sake, we must give a shout out to Deniz Undav, who, following Füllkrug's absence with his ankle injury, they then put Undav as a direct replacement for Füllkrug, and 1 goal, 1 assist. It's the first German Kurd to have scored for Germany. And we've discussed this in plenty, but his journey, having been released at Werder Bremen for being too small of a kid, having gone through the lower leagues, having ended up at Union Saint-Gela, where he got his breakthrough, a very late breakthrough at that, to now find himself playing for Germany, being the main man for Stuttgart. He had 18 goals, 12 assists, or 10 assists, I think it was last season. A story worth mentioning again and again, and goes to show that there are different career trajectory as such. It brings me, though, to the question. Now, we've discussed Germany in plenty now, though. Can Germany win the World Cup in 2026?
Well, after Jesse March took over at Canada, and they will be the great favorite now to win everything. And yeah. Pochettino just signed for USA. I mean, there are so many favorites there. Now, joke aside, of course, Germany can win. I mean, we are two years down the road. If Nagelsmann can kind of build this team, they will be one of the favorites. Of course, they will be one of the favorites. But there are many, Marcus. There are 6, 7. These are the usual suspects. We saw that by the last World Cup. We saw Argentina losing to Saudi Arabia. They could be knocked out. There are so many things that get that into it. But if we were going to make a case for Germany, is that they will in 2 years' time now develop players. You were talking about Undav. You have Füllkrug that had the same kind of path, late career breakthroughs. So you could say, yeah, they need a goal scorer. But I think it's very interesting the way they play, Marcus, because they play with two holding midfielders, and they have an Andrich, they have Kroos, they have Kimmich. Can play Pavlovic, exactly, and they can play in that holding role. Then in this game they put up a system with Musiala, Wirtz, and then Havertz behind the number 9. So they have the flexibility. They won't go there as the big favorites to the USA. But I think that when Nagelsmann, when you see what he has managed to do with this team, going from that dark period, if you may say, for a big football nation as Germany, and now getting into a bit more consistency. But I won't make them the big favorite, Marcus. To your question, can they win the World Cup? Yes, of course they can. And if we see the other teams that will be up there with Spain, with England, with Argentina, with Brazil, yes, there are different teams who can win it. What we've learned now, the last tournaments is, and France, of course, what we've learned now, the last tournaments is that the teams are getting tighter and tighter. It's all about the individuals. Will you have a flow? Will you have the luck to go all the way? Look at England has been in the finals, they've been in semi-finals, still missing that title. They could have 2 titles now, dear old England. But Germany need to develop the team, but they get a lot of young kids coming in now, and you have a Julian Nagelsmann who now picked the team based on the players in need. You had a feeling for a period that players were taken in because they were the best players, but now they are taken in to have a good balance in the team. So, Marcus, searching for your big headline, Germany can win the World Cup. I can't confirm it. I'm just saying, yes, of course they can win the World Cup, but it's not very likely.
Well, another team or another country that will never cease to dream about World Cup victories and bringing it home is England. And as they kicked off their Nations League campaign against Ireland and Finland, there was a certain Harry Kane who plays in the Bundesliga, we might want to mention, who got his 100th cap. That makes him the 10th player, I believe, who's earned his 100th cap. He scored 2 goals. He's been captain in 73 of these 100 games. He's now at 68 international goals, and he's the first player to become an England's men's centurion since Wayne Rooney reached the milestone in November 2014. My question for you, Dad, is simple. Kane is England's men's all-time top scorer with 68 goals in 100 internationals. He made his debut in 2015, scored within 79 seconds. He's the first player to captain the England's men's national team at 4 major tournaments. During his 9.5-year international career, he has played in more games and major finals than any other Englishman. He's also played in more competitive matches than any other senior men's international. Now being the most pronounced goal scorer for England, now entering his 100 caps, is he one of England's all-time greats?
Well, first of all, the facts. He will, of course, he's now the most scoring Englishman in the history of football. And Alan Shearer and Gary Lineker will say it was harder to score back in the days. And of course, I will agree with them, because now you play so many different teams and there's so many different competitions. Harry Kane will also end up, he's 100 games now, 100 caps for England. I love the way they gave him a golden cap.
Nice, isn't it?
Yeah, and they gave him, I played with golden shoes, and of course he scored 2 goals. And he will end up being the most caps, because he got 100 now. Peter Shilton got 125. He will beat that, because he will definitely be a major player for them, a vital and important player for them, at least a couple of more seasons, because going into the World Cup. Will he be one of the greatest? That is another interesting question. You have to define that. First of all, you have to have titles to do that. At this moment, he doesn't have a title. He could end up playing at Bayern. It's likely that he will, in the period of his contract, he will get one. In England, he will have one more go. That will be in 2026. They won't go there as favourites, so he won't get maybe that one. Although they have done good in the different tournaments he's been a part of. I doubt it that he will be up there. If he will end up now a couple of Bundesliga, a cup, maybe one Champions League win, he can compete up there. But for me, I think you have to see everything in perspective. You have to have titles. How good were you at the time? Harry Kane has now been for some seasons now one of the best strikers in the world, but he hasn't won the title. And in great England, I think it's hard to get away from a Bobby Moore, a Sir Bobby Charlton, who has done it for England, done it for Manchester United, being the big guys in that period. We had also the other goal scorers like Gary Lineker, Alan Shearer, and I've probably forgotten someone now that is there. If you go only on title, it's easy to go to Manchester United. You can throw in a Paul Scholes in there. So many great English players of their generation. But Harry Kane will be up there with the best. But to be the best, he needs more titles.
Reminds me of when anytime I put on ESPN or any American sports show, every second feature is who is the GOAT. And that's, I guess, what we're going into. And you can never really resolve those situations. They're always... And it's so...
Yeah, sorry to
no, you're good.
Talk over you, but I was just saying, and then I always come with the same argument, because then you say, yeah, but you have to play in the World Cup to be a blah, blah, blah. And I said, my go-to argument is that George Best and Ryan Giggs never played at the World Cup. I did. Does that mean that I'm better than them? But
well, maybe according to certain metrics, who knows?
Yeah, my own metrics, I guess. But yes, Marcus, you're right. This GOAT kind of thing. And when I work with Craig Burley at ESPN, he's always going, stop doing that. I hate that. I don't like Ballon d'Or. I do everything. So we know it's a lot of politics. But Harry Kane, all due respect, great lad on and off the pitch, great attitude. He's a proudness to himself, his family, and to England and to Bayern Munich.
Absolutely. And as we get to the close here, we would be remiss if we didn't mention our own national team, but with good reason, Dad, because you followed the game when Norway played a thrilling 0-0 result away to Kazakhstan. But then back to Oslo, back to play Austria. Norway won 2-1 in a vital game. You were there. And so you also saw up close that Martin Ødegaard suffered a rather serious ankle twist, which now proves itself to be a bit more serious than we Arsenal fans, I guess, would hope for.
Yeah, well, I saw it straight away, Marcus, because I've had in my career, I've twisted my ankle so many times. Started with one foot when I was 18. I was taping then the rest of my career. And when I was 27, I had to do my other ankle. I saw straight away there was something wrong. The thing is, with an ankle injury, it feels unbelievable painful straight away. And then you can see how long that pain takes. And when you saw Marcus... with Martin was lying there, wow, this is not good at all. And then he had needed to be helped off. You saw him next day on the crutches going back to England. So that this is serious stuff. Because an ankle injury, for those who doesn't know, if you twist your ankle, you can hope that in 2-3 days' time, and I guess that would be the dream for Arsenal fans, that will happen. But you feel that you don't trust your foot at all. You don't even want to stand on it. Then they send him back to London, them being the Norwegian national team, and I think that there will be an aftermath of this. Yes, Arsenal fans will say that they shouldn't play international games. Of course, the same as Manchester City don't want their players doing that. But I think there will be an aftermath. I think that Arsenal will react. That the national team's doctor speaks so openly about his injury, because and so does the Norwegian national coach. I think that Arsenal will say, listen, we pay his wages. He's our player. Don't you talk so much about what is happening. As we speak now, Marcus, is Wednesday night. There won't be any confirmation, I guess, before the press conference of Arteta on Friday. It is pre-match press conference ahead of the North London derby, or before the game, his press conference. But the Norwegians are being too open about it. I know international football, Marcus. I follow it very closely. I'm sure this will annoy Arsenal Football Club. I'm sure that it will annoy Manchester City when international doctors or national team doctors or coaches speaking about their player, how long they will be out. The national team doctor, the Norwegian, said he will be minimum out for 3 weeks. It's probably not a breach of his ankle, which would have made it minimum 6 weeks. But I'm sure this will be an aftermath about this, because he's an Arsenal player, and Arsenal want to protect their jewel, so to say. And I just wish Martin all the best. He is a good lad. He is a great player, and of course for Arsenal fans and for every football fans, when they send their player to international games, could that happen in training for Arsenal? Yes. Could that happen in a game for Arsenal? Of course. But that is what you fear all the time. That's why historically some managers told their players not to play international games. But now you have to send them, and there could be different consequences if you don't do that. So I would just wish Martin Ødegaard all the best. And I just hope, like everybody else, I hope for a miracle that sometimes this ankle injury thing can turn out that but it doesn't look good for Martin and Arsenal.
And the timing couldn't be worse for Arsenal's purposes. It's Tottenham away at the weekend. Then you have Atalanta in the Champions League on the Tuesday before a trip to Manchester City on Sunday, September 22nd. The Norwegian doctor has been so open with everyone, has said that the national games in the second week of October might be a doubt as well, which would also mean that Bolton also is before, but even still, Bolton, Leicester, PSG, Southampton might all be games. And with games coming so thick and fast, and the amount of games that players have to go through, Arsenal will miss Martin Ødegaard, and he will be missing a significant amount of games. And like I said, 3 pretty significant games, and it's crazy that we are speaking of like this already in September, but in a league in which there is almost no room for error. These games, a North London derby away, Champions League, there'll be more games, but in Manchester City away, it's a tough one to swallow for all Arsenal fans.
Yeah, absolutely. But that again, Marcus, that's why I think that national federations should be aware of what's going on here, because that's what it's all about. This is about the Premier League title. There are no need. Well, anybody could get injured, Marcus, but now we are sitting here as well and speculating based on what a Norwegian national doctor has heard from a colleague in London. And when we know how much Arsenal mean, what Manchester City or Manchester United fans all around the globe feel about their club, and now we are starting, and then we're talking about if they will miss a national team, a new games in October, then the Arsenal fans will say, who gives the F? Because they say, we want him ready now. And so read the room. I think that national federations, I speak to football people all the time. I speak to clubs all the time. And this is one of the things that annoys them. But okay, it happened. Martin Ødegaard is out. Martin Ødegaard got a body that I think will heal quickly. That is my pray for Martin. And an ankle injury, you never know when you twist your ankle how long it is. And I think that is the hope, that is the fear of Arsenal Football Club at the moment. But I feel sorry for Martin. I feel sorry for Arsenal, because nobody wants one of the most vital players to be injured, and nobody wants to. And we stop now, Marcus, where we started, the international break that club fans don't like anyway, and he comes back injured, and of course that is the worst news. And we also saw Ake been taken off for Haaland. He can come back, but in no disrespect to Ake, they got some central defenders at Manchester City, but Arsenal only got one captain, and that is Martin Ødegaard. So we just pray and hope that he will have a miracle healing, that he could be ready sooner rather than later.
Absolutely. Norway won that game 2-1 against Austria. Erling Haaland scored that goal. Remind us that, how many goals is he off the record?
He has 32 goals for Norway. Yeah. The guy who is ahead, he got 33.
Is he only one goal off? I thought he was 2. Okay, that's good to know.
One goal off. But Jørgen Juve did that 90 years ago. to be fair to Jürgen Juve, he played at different positions on the pitch, but he still scored 33 goals. And if I may say, fantastic story by our colleagues from another TV channel here in Norway, TV2. They found his widow. She is still alive, 95 years of age. They met her at a home in Oslo. A fantastic lady, and she had a revelation. Jürgen Juve was a journalist after his football career, and she was, Markus, the first Miss Norway. She was the first Miss Norway, and Jürgen Juve, who was the record goal scorer in Norway, a fantastic name, he pulled her off. He dated and married the first Miss Norway. So I don't think Erling Haaland would go that road, but still, just to end, Markus, Erling Haaland is about to be historical. He will maybe in October take the new record, a 90-year-old record, and will be the all-time goal scorer. And if you saw the goal against Austria, VAR had to go in. VAR took some time as well because it was close. Was it offside or not? But we know, we could have told them, Erling Haaland goes never in offside. And thank God for Norway. And I love my Austria, do you know that? But thank God for Norway, we got a win, and that was good for us. It was good for the Norwegian football soul.
Amen to that. And with that, we conclude our little international break summary. We'll be back next week following the conclusion of the next Bundesliga round, Premier League matches, and the latest talking points. Don't forget, if you enjoyed this, to subscribe, like, comment. We appreciate that. We obviously want to build this community that we have got going. So please subscribe, and wherever you hear this, on audio platform or on YouTube, vice versa, subscribe across. Let's build something. That's my ending words. And with that, auf Wiedersehen.
Auf Wiedersehen.